The enigmatic and captivating world of Red Dead Redemption leaves a lasting impression on its audience, particularly through the journey of its characters. Among them, Jack Marston stands out, a young man whose life is irrevocably shaped by the events of the game. In the aftermath of Red Dead Redemption, the fate of Jack Marston stirs a blend of curiosity and speculation. This video aims to explore the possible paths Jack's life might have taken following the game's conclusion. Delving into the historical context of the era, the narrative arcs established by the game, and the character development he undergoes, we will attempt to piece together the untold chapters of Jack Marston's life after the curtain falls on the epic saga of Red Dead Redemption. Before we dive into this video, if you enjoy this type of content and want to stay updated on all things Red Dead and Red Dead Online, be sure to subscribe. As 99% of viewers have not done so, I appreciate all of your support. Now let's delve into the possible outcomes of Jack Marston's life after the events of Red Dead Redemption. It is important to note that this video is just speculation. We will provide what little evidence and claims there is. However, none of these so-called theories have been proven to be 100% true, nor have been confirmed by Rockstar Games. With that being said, let us dive in. To fully understand the possible outcomes of Jack Marston's story, one must understand the full story of Jack's past and early life. The life of Jack Marston presents a compelling study of the impact of trauma and the resilience of the human spirit. His story unfolds against the backdrop of the fictional Van der Linde gang's outlaw lifestyle, a setting rife with mental illness, trauma, and complex interpersonal dynamics. His tale is one of innocence lost, revenge, and the harsh realities of the American frontier. Born in 1895 to John Marston, an outlaw, and Abigail Roberts, a prostitute, Jack Marston's early years were spent amidst the Van der Linde gang. Despite the gang's criminal activities, they tried to shield young Jack from their nefarious deeds, with members like Arthur Morgan and Dutch acting as surrogate aunts and uncles. Jack's early years are marked by instability and neglect. Raised in the gang environment, he is exposed to violence, frequent relocations, and the chaotic lifestyle of outlaws. John Marston, Jack's father, would often argue with Abigail and entertain the idea that Jack was not his son, implying that Abigail had conceived the child with another member of the gang. John would often neglect Jack, refusing to spend any time with him or treat him like a son in any way. Only about a year after Jack was born, John would leave the gang for about a year. Leaving both Jack and Abigail alone with the gang, no one in the gang knew where John had gone, at least no one willing to share that information with the gang. John Marston would return to the gang later, however remained distant from Jack in his youthful years. This would cause Arthur and other gang members to play the role as Jack's father at times during his crucial early years. John Marston's inconsistent presence and involvement in Jack's life contribute to a sense of abandonment and a longing for approval. This dynamic is evident in Jack's later attempts to prove himself to his father, often through reckless behavior. The emotional distance and lack of stable parental support play a significant role in shaping Jack's identity and self-perception. This upbringing, characterized by parental neglect, especially from his father John, lays the groundwork for Jack's potential mental health issues. The transient lifestyle of the Van der Linde gang, while providing a makeshift family structure, lacked the stability crucial for a child's development, especially at Jack's age. From a young age, Jack is confronted with death and violence. The gang's lifestyle ensures that he is frequently in proximity to life-threatening situations, which could contribute to the potential trauma. Jack was also subject to the same home style as the rest of the gang, moving from location to location as the gang makes more enemies and stirs more trouble throughout the surrounding towns. Jack never had a stable place to call home growing up, as the gang's camps he considered home were always temporary. Jack's personality evolved significantly over the years. As a child, he was bright, curious, and somewhat sheltered. He had a love for nature and reading, showing a keen intellect. However, the events he would witness and experience would harden him. In 1899, during the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, Jack's life took a dramatic turn when he was kidnapped by the Braithwaite family and handed over to Angelo Bronte. This event marked a significant point in Jack's life, exposing him to the brutal realities of his family's world. Despite being treated well by Bronte, the experience left a lasting impact. This traumatic event was not just a personal ordeal for Jack, but also a stark reminder of the dangers inherent in his family's past. The kidnapping underscored the vulnerability of the Marston family and the impossibility of completely escaping their outlaw legacy. His kidnapping and the subsequent rescue potentially lead to emotional and psychological scars. The following years were tumultuous for the Marston family. They once again moved frequently, trying to escape their past and find stability. By 1907, they had settled at Pronghorn Ranch, which provided Jack with a temporary feeling of normality. This period was crucial for Jack as he began to understand more about his father's past and the complexities of their family dynamics. However, the shadows of their past were never far behind, leading to the events of Red Dead Redemption. In 1911, the Bureau of Investigation took Jack and Abigail hostage, using them as leverage against John. This forced John into a series of events that would ultimately lead to his demise. Jack, during this period, was not physically present for most of the narrative, but was a constant emotional presence in John's journey. The government's coercion of John Marston into hunting down his former gang members profoundly affected Jack. During this tumultuous period, Jack was often left in the dark about his father's activities, which added to his sense of insecurity and confusion. The absence of his father during these crucial years and the mystery surrounding John's mission contributed significantly to Jack's inner turmoil and developing worldview. Entering adolescence, Jack's behavior changes significantly. He becomes more reclusive, showing signs of anxiety and a preference for isolation. This shift could be a response to the accumulated trauma of his childhood, manifesting as withdrawal and avoidance. His difficulty in expressing emotions and reluctance to engage in physical affection further indicate a deep-seated impact of his early experiences. The death of his father John Marston at the hands of government agents was a devastating blow to. This loss, compounded by the death of uncle and later his mother, Abigail, propelled Jack down a path of vengeance. His determination to avenge his father's death by killing Edgar Ross was a poignant and tragic reflection of his transformation from an innocent youth to a figure engulfed in the cycle of violence and redemption. Initially a shy, book-loving child with a deep appreciation for nature, the harsh realities of his life set in. Signs that he might be suffering from complex post-traumatic stress disorder become more evident. PTSD, a condition stemming from prolonged exposure to traumatic events, particularly in childhood, is characterized by difficulties in emotional regulation, consciousness, self-perception, and interpersonal relationships. Jack's detachment, memory lapses, and emotional responses suggest the possibility of PTSD. His upbringing in a destabilized environment marked by neglect and exposure to violence aligns with the conditions that often lead to this disorder. Jack executing Edgar Ross for revenge marked his complete immersion into the outlaw life, a destiny his parents had desperately hoped he would avoid. Jack Marston's life is a poignant reminder of the cyclical nature of violence and the impact of one's environment on personal development. His story mirrors the broader changes in the American West, where old ways were giving way to new, often at a great personal cost. The final scene of Red Dead Redemption leaves players with a poignant and unresolved question: what happened to Jack Marston? The game, a masterpiece of storytelling set in the dying embers of the American Wild West, concludes with Jack Marston killing Edgar Ross, the man responsible for his father's demise. This act of vengeance, while providing a momentary sense of closure, opens a myriad of possibilities regarding Jack's future. Perhaps the most popular theory is that Jack Marston turned to writing, a path that aligns with his demonstrated love for literature. Throughout the game series, Jack is frequently seen reading, indicating a deep-seated passion for stories and learning. This theory is given weight by an Easter egg in GTA V, where a book titled Red Dead, authored by J. Marston, is found. While this could easily be dismissed as a playful nod from the developers, it intriguingly fits the narrative of Jack using writing as a means to process his tumultuous life experiences. However, it's important to note the presence of another book in GTA V, American History by H. Potter, which suggests that these references might be more about in-game humor than actual lore, as players took H. Potter to represent Harry Potter, who unsurprisingly has not been a part of any Rockstar games. Furthermore, when creating an online character in GTA 5, you can also choose John Marston to be your father, further indicating that the book is a nod to the Red Dead game. Despite this, the idea of Jack as a writer is compelling. It suggests a path of introspection and creativity, a stark contrast to the violence and chaos that marked his early life. This theory paints a picture of Jack channeling his complex emotions and experiences into storytelling, perhaps as a way of coping with his past and finding a new purpose. A more somber and introspective theory is the suicide theory. This perspective takes a deep dive into the psychological impact of the events Jack Marston experienced. Jack Marston's life is deeply marred by trauma from an early age. Raised in the unstable and violent environment of the Van der Linde gang, he experiences neglect and is exposed to the harsh realities of an outlaw lifestyle. His childhood is punctuated by events such as kidnapping, witnessing death and violence, and dealing with the emotional turmoil of an absent father, John Marston, who struggled with his own demons. The constant danger and lack of a nurturing, stable environment likely leads to profound psychological scars, potentially manifesting in symptoms akin to complex post-traumatic stress disorder. As he grew, these traumas were compounded by further loss and violence, deeply impacting his mental health and shaping his journey into adulthood. The game itself provides hints of this darker trajectory, with Jack voicing thoughts of nihilism and despair after his act of revenge. Perhaps after exacting revenge for his family's death, Jack struggles with a sense of emptiness and lack of purpose. While providing momentary satisfaction, this act did not bring back his family or heal his mental wounds. This theory posits that Jack, overwhelmed by grief and without a clear path forward, might have succumbed to the despair that had been brewing within him for years, and might have taken his own life. Another important theory to note is the theory that suggests Jack was killed by government agents, the same way as his father John. This theory is supported by one question, and that is, how did Jack get away with killing ex-FBI agent Edgar Ross? Something that to this day in America does not exactly fly under the radar. Even when the officer is retired, an agent's death would make headlines in newspapers and spread throughout the towns of the world fast. The death of Edgar Ross would be nationwide, if not continental news, as he was a very well-known agent. He was more than likely missing for a while before anyone found his body, which Jack did not attempt to hide. This theory suggests that agents did a thorough investigation and either killed Jack or brought him in. However, Edgar Ross was a man who probably made a lot of enemies, leaving the suspect in the eyes of the police as anyone who crossed paths with Agent Ross. The detectives would need evidence to conclude the murder was on Jack, which cannot be concluded 100%. Ross was also killed in Mexico, where it is more unlikely his body was even recovered. One of the more intriguing theories about Jack's post-redemption life is the freedom fighter theory. This theory posits that Jack, following in his father's footsteps, might have become a gunslinger or even participated in World War I. However, this seems contradictory to Jack's upbringing. Raised among outlaws who despised the government, it is hard to imagine Jack willingly serving in a government-led war, especially after his father was betrayed and killed by government agents. However, if Jack was to join the army, it would help him hide from any agents after him at the time. It is also important to consider Jack's thought process. Was his love for the country bigger than their resentment for the government? This could make all of the difference on whether he joined the army's fight. A more nuanced version of this theory suggests that Jack may have fought in the Mexican Revolution instead. This idea gains traction considering a significant part of the game's narrative involves John Marston's reluctant involvement in the Mexican Revolution. Fighting in Mexico could represent Jack's way of connecting with his father's past and continuing a family legacy of fighting for a cause, albeit in a different context. The last theory I have for you guys today is one that will end us on a happy note. Despite the tragic events that unfolded in his life, including the loss of his parents, Jack's resilience and adaptability could have steered him towards continuing the family legacy and upkeep their ranch at Beech's Hope. His familiarity with the land, his love for nature, and his hands-on experience in ranching activities position him well to take on the mantle of a rancher, honoring his father's legacy while carving out his own path in the changing landscape of the American West. The fate of Jack Marston after the events of Red Dead Redemption remains a subject of fascination and speculation. The theories range from him embracing a life of action and rebellion, finding solace and expression in writing, or tragically succumbing to the psychological toll of his experiences. While Rockstar Games has left Jack's fate ambiguous, these theories reflect the depth of the game's storytelling and the complexity of its characters. Jack's story, whether it led to further adventures, a life of quiet reflection, or a tragic end, remains a powerful testament to the enduring impact of the Red Dead Redemption saga. As fans, we continue to speculate and hope for more insights into his journey, but until then, Jack Marston's legacy endures in the discussions and imaginations of those who journeyed with him through the Wild West.